Well, hello everybody. Let's make sure I get on camera here. You have Kent Marts and Scott Roberts here, wearing our masks, and we're here to share our first show. And this show about FirstLight Chronicles is to cover, the beginning aspects of getting into amateur astronomy. How you can do it as inexpensively as possible, and different thoughts, different philosophies on how someone might want to get started, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that would advise, and we were talking about this earlier, that the best thing to do is don't buy a telescope. Don't buy a telescope. Read about it, join a club, try to go to a star party. Try to look through other telescopes.
And that worked up until February.
Worked up until February, exactly.
February, March, and that
right.
pretty well
That's right.
was
That's right.
the end of it.
Right. And so, I've been selling telescopes for a long time. And I know that when somebody's really got the bug, they're wanting to get started, they don't want to spend very much money because they want to try it. What's the best thing to advise them to get? And this gets to be tough, okay? Because there are expectations of what people expect to see versus what they're really going to see, okay? There are, as we all know, as you get into the better equipment, the mounts are more stable, the controls are smoother, everything is better about it, but that all comes with a price tag, And I've shown my inexpensive Kmart telescope many times, and if I didn't have this inexpensive Kmart telescope, I wouldn't be running this telescope company.
What would you be doing?
Maybe selling washing machines or something. I would be doing something else. But
and the point of that's a 40 millimeter telescope.
It's a 40 millimeter, and this one you can see the tripod is wobbly on it. It has and
it's not wobbly because it's loose.
No,
that's just the way it's made.
That's just as good as it's made, right?
And this is how do you get that lens cap off?
You pull it off.
And that little
my
hole
friends,
right there,
yep,
is the epitome of not easy to look through.
Right
there, that tiny little eye hole.
Right.
It's a tough to look through. But the point of it is, it got you started down the road.
Oh yeah, it sure did. It sure did. That and a ton of inspiration and imagination about the moon. Because this is Apollo era. This was 1970 when I get this telescope, and we had just.
And you had small expectations of not seeing anything, right? You didn't think you were, you knew it was a little telescope and you weren't going to be able to see anything.
Oh no,
right?
no. My expectations is that it was going to be like I'm standing on one of the moons of Saturn, looking out across the plane of the rings, okay, as the planet filled the eyepiece. That was my expectation. Okay?
Which is the expectations everybody has today, with toy telescopes and inexpensive telescopes.
Right.
It's the same exact expectation.
Right.
It's just 50 years later.
That's right. That's right. So but the view of the moon through this little telescope is razor sharp. Yeah. Okay. It was hard to use. I had to look straight through the eyepiece instead of looking down and relaxed, so.
Which means you had to be down on the ground, or did you put it on a table?
I put it on the ground.
You put it on the ground?
I didn't know to put it on a table.
You had to lay down.
I'm laying down.
With your head
I'm laying down, and so I'm a little boy, and so I'm.
The moon's like right there.
Yeah.
And your head is literally on the ground.
And there were times where I picked the whole tripod up off the ground and tried to just hold it with my hands.
You're 10?
10.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very difficult to do.
And no mentors.
No.
No astronomy club.
No.
Your parents weren't into it.
No.
You were on your own
I'm
solo.
on my own. I'm on my own. And this is the predicament that a lot of young people are in when they get started. But not only kids, but adults also.
And especially because of COVID. Because pre-March, they could, if they were really driven, go to an astronomy club or, put on a Facebook and find somebody in their neighborhood or town that
Right.
does telescopes. But now, because of social distancing, that's pretty well out of the question. And they're all literally 10-year-old boys in
Girls. Yeah.
and girls in and where'd you grow up? In Texas. Where were you when you were 10?
I was in Grand Prairie, Texas.
In Grand Prairie, Texas.
Yeah.
Who are in the same exact boat you are.
Right.
You were when you were 10 years old.
Sure, of course. And so, I didn't even know that astronomy clubs existed. Okay. My parents had zero idea about it. But still, the inspiration of looking through that telescope, that's 51 years ago, okay, it sustained me to this very day, and so I keep it on my desk as a constant reminder of what a Hubble telescope can do, okay?
And it's really easy for people that are into the hobby to forget that.
Right.
That you don't have to start out with $5,000 worth of telescope gear.
Right.
But I have seen many people, tell people, well, this is what you need. And they've got $5,000 worth of gear.
Yeah.
And they don't remember they didn't start that way.
Right.
But that's the level they're at. And if you want to be like me, then you have to buy the same things I did. And that doesn't work. And I started out with binoculars. I started out with 2 telescopes.
Right.
10 power, 50 millimeter diameter binoculars telescopes stuck side by side. Binoculars.
Right.
Binoculars are really 2 telescopes. And, my dad would take us out and we did a lot of visual astronomy. We'd go out and watch lunar eclipses. We would do meteor showers, a little bit of binoculars to work, but mostly it was just visual for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
I bought my first telescope, a 4.5-inch Newtonian, a Dobsonian, 25 years ago. 24 years ago maybe, and then graduated to an 8-inch Celestron, and for years that was the only telescope I had.
Wow.
And you just make
an 8-inch Celestron. That's a pretty good telescope.
Which is a good telescope.
Great telescope.
Black tube, past the orange tube era.
Oh, sure.
Black tube, but had a great time with it. And over the years I've collected up some Newtonians and a couple of refractors and.
But thank goodness your father was kind of into it, right?
Yes. If he hadn't been into it. And I think that's the key. And I tell people this. Talk to somebody Friday, I think it was Thursday, Friday. They have a 6-year-old kid, and they want to get that 6-year-old kid interested in astronomy. What telescope do I buy?
Yeah.
And I said, no, you need to buy a telescope for yourself and learn to take to what's going on and take your kid out and let them spend time with you out under the stars.
Yeah.
And you show them the constellations, you show them the moon. You don't make it a big deal. You let them learn to love being with an adult outside. And that's the memory I have of my dad.
Yeah.
Giving
being
me
out
that.
with your dad or your mom outside.
Exactly.
And experiencing nature and exploring together. So that's huge and something. I mean, I did that with my daughters, and they certainly remember it to this very day.
You drug them to some pretty cool places too.
I did. Of course I did. But I would take them into the backyard. When I first really got hooked on amateur astronomy, there was about a 10-year gap where I still liked the idea of it and stuff, but. It was 10 years before I got a serious telescope, and that was a big Newtonian telescope. But it was still the inspiration of that 40 is kind of what led me to it, So because I knew it was going to be cool, and I knew that a bigger telescope. By that time, I knew a bigger telescope was going to be really spectacular, and it was, So, so we have this situation. It's we were talking, What's a good analogy of people wanting to get started? I like to go diving. Kent, you went diving once, right? We're talking about this.
12 pre-talking about
Right.
this. I had a friend that was scuba diving, and this woman we went to church with lost her keys out of the boat in Beaver Lake.
Okay.
And Mike said, well, I'll go look for them. She knew about where she was off her dock. And I said, well, I'll go along. And so, he went down and dove, and I said, well.
He had tanks and the
Yeah,
whole thing.
I mean, he's
right?
a diver.
Yeah.
He takes, twice a year goes down to Cozumel or somewhere and goes diving. And I said, well, I want to, go underwater, see what it's like. And, he said, okay, just breathe on the hook of the spare mouthpiece. And I'm fine, breathing, just normal, no big deal, mask on. I'm standing in less than waist deep water, bend over and put my face in the water, and my mind explodes. It's freaking out because humans are not supposed to breathe with their face underwater. And I mean, and I can't stop breathing. I had to stand up. I mean, I'm about to pass out.
Right.
And he's like, slow your breathing down.
Yeah.
And it was hard.
So can you imagine, okay, if you just bought the gear, this is like people buying telescope gear.
It's like people buying that 165
it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. I think I'll buy an inexpensive telescope or a really expensive telescope or whatever. And then they're out, without any kind of someone sort of taking them under your wing.
No training, no preparation, no knowledge.
Right.
And would you go scuba diving?
Right.
No.
No.
No. No, you wouldn't. Very few people.
Stargazing's a little safer than scuba diving, right? But
it probably won't kill you, but
it won't kill you.
It won't kill you. But
But nevertheless, if you take people out, if some of my friends wanted to go scuba diving, if I made them sit on the boat and read a book about scuba diving and just look down at the water and see me scuba dive.
That's fun.
Yeah, that's going to be like watching paint dry.
Yeah, so that's how much fun it's going to be.
Yeah, and you're not going to, you won't pass out, if you...
Or hyperventilate.
Or hyperventilate if you use a telescope wrong. But people want to start getting their hands on the product and start using that gear, and they want to explore. It's very natural. Mm-hmm. When you and I do sidewalk astronomy, many people come up that have never looked through a telescope ever before in their lives.
That's correct.
Right?
All the time. Every single time.
Every single time. And have never seen the craters on the moon, never saw the rings of Saturn. Okay.
And cry. Sometimes start crying, have emotional
response. It can have a huge impact. And so the point is that people want to get started. They know that it's going to be a departure point for some exploration, and they want to get going. So, but we always get challenged, as outfitters for astronomy. We're always challenged by they'll throw out and they'll go, look, I don't want to spend any more than X. Right. They just put that in their head. Okay, we're not going to, for this adventure, I'm not going to spend any more than X because I don't know if we really like it or not. Okay.
And so Scott and I were talking, getting ready for this, and I kept, but this and that. And he said, Kent, I'm going to pin you down. And it's like, okay, so I'm getting ready to get pinned down by Scott. So,
Right. So you can't take the route. Okay. If you can't take the route of saying, okay, you should join an astronomy club, you should read some books, you should learn some technique. Okay. And, even though that money's burning a hole in your pocket and you really want to do this, don't spend that money, okay? Join your club, okay? All right, you can take that route,
right?
All right? But a lot of people ignore that.
Or they don't have a club.
Or they don't have a club, okay? They ignore that. And so how do they get, how can they get started? And so we, but you don't want to sell them something that is going to truly disappoint them, okay? So you have, you go in with some expectations, and so Kent, what you've been looking at I challenge you to put together packages of something that you could outfit somebody with the telescope system for about $200.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. There's eyepieces that cost more than $200. You guys know it out there, right? So. So how do we get into a $200 telescope system, and what could you possibly see with a $200 telescope?
Okay. So first off, I'll have people call, and they have bought a toy telescope. I mean,
Yeah.
a flat out toy
Sure.
telescope.
Sure.
And they want to know why they can't see this and this and this. And literally a couple people I have told, if you bought a Hot Wheels car, would you expect to go to the grocery store and come home with steaks? And of course you wouldn't. And they bought a toy. And toys amazingly can do really good work. But expectations are up here
Yes.
and reality is down here.
Right.
And, I can't get on the screen, but it's much larger than that in this realm. But their expectations are not, doesn't merge with reality. And on all the Facebook astronomy pages, you see this all the time. What telescope's the best? What should I buy? I found this one. It's this much. And the answer is whatever gear you've got is the best gear right now.
Right.
It's what you've got. So go use it. Well, they don't have anything. So a benchmarks, I decided under $200, agreed with Scott. So first off, the packages I'm putting together, Explore Scientific, red light, flashlight, no batteries in this one, so I can't shine a red light in your eyes.
You guys know what a red light is.
everybody-
This is another red flashlight here.
And I'll have people say, well, why do you need a red light?
Still says Explore Scientific on it.
They'll say, why do you need a red light for? And the point of it is, at night, red light, especially dim red light, allows you to read, look at a star map, and we'll show you some star maps in a minute, and allow you to be able to see at night and not affect your night vision. And so, an important tool, this is $20, $19.99.
Right.
Okay. And so then, having a roadmap, inexpensive roadmap to figure out what's going on, is where the planisphere comes in. And this is a Wiltirian, multi-latitude, double-sided, northern hemisphere planisphere. We have a video that I did out there that shows how to use it. It has the constellations, the major M objects, double stars, things like that, things that get you started. Because I'll tell people, look, if you've never seen a car before and you want to go to Miami, Florida in it, you got to have a map.
Right.
You don't even know how to start the car sometimes.
Right.
And so there's a lot of things you got to learn. The internet is a great resource, but you can get bogged down in everybody's opinions. At some point, you just have to start.
You have to start.
And so,
now this is an advanced map. Most serious amateur astronomers have seen this or used this or still use this. Okay, a lot of us have switched to computer-only maps.
Right.
And some of us are just use apps, and some of us just know the sky. Okay.
Right.
So
open that up and show them what's inside.
All right. Well,
I don't know what this one cost. I didn't look it up. This is the
Those
one
are
I've
about
used.
$50, right in that
And
range.
So this literally just has a map of the sky, and as you can see, these pages are laminated. So this is a unit designed to go outside. You can get it wet, dry it out. This thing has been soaked by dew numerous times, and it's in great condition. But if you notice, there are no constellations on it. And so that is a challenge for beginners, especially because there's no constellations. And so that presents a lot of challenge for people trying to figure out how to use it.
So for maybe $10 or $20 at a star party, you could buy like a 1950s type star map, which is what this is. And this is just dots, okay, literally against the sky. They're color-coded as the colors of stars that they are, which is really cool. But you could go used, which is always a great way to go,
But again, this is pretty advanced stuff.
Very advanced.
Whereas this is, can't get a hold of it. It's stuck.
There you go.
Whereas this is, it doesn't require batteries. It just works. And people will show up at star parties and they want to use their phone for everything. And I'll show people, if they have an iPhone, how to make that thing red, turn the screen red using the disabilities function, and turn the light down, and so it doesn't ruin their night vision, and they can continue to use their phone. But again, that is contingent upon power. And if your phone dies, you're in trouble. And
I like Jeff Wise's first telescope. Mine was a CPC 11-inch.
Little baby. Little telescope.
So he just hopped in a Ferrari, that's all. So this book here, 50 Things You Can See with the Telescope, shows young people how to, you know, how to
Arc to
star
arc
hop.
tourists.
Yeah,
Arc to arc tourists.
how to arc to arc tourists and how to find things, with by star hopping. And that's how I learned astronomy, because I was a star hopper. I didn't know how to use setting circles, didn't know how to color a line, certainly had no computers, no electronics of any kind. Um, and every year, magazines like Astronomy Magazine publish things like this ultimate guide, okay? And it will talk about the different kinds of objects that are out in the sky. Let's move this around so that you can see it.
You know, hold it up.
Yeah.
And you're
How
gonna
to
see
choose your first telescope, what kind of things that you could expect to see. The beautiful images in there.
oh, look, a FirstLight telescope.
There you
There
go.
we go.
There you go. Right. So, the thing is that you want to offer someone at least enough aperture and focal length, probably to see craters on the moon.
Yeah, Craters on. That was my first telescope that I bought. Was
You
this
had one
right
just
here.
like that?
Exactly
Okay.
that one, except
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think basically exactly this one. And it was great for looking at. It taught me my favorite M objects: M36, 37, and 38. In Auriga, they're coming up now, and it taught me to love those because I could carry it out, set it down in my driveway. I live in the woods, and so I had this hole about that big in the trees looking east,
Right.
and I could go out every night after I got the telescope, and I just kept looking at Auriga over and over again for a month or two, and those became some of my favorite M objects was because of that little telescope right there.
Right.
And you could see, the moon looked great, Orion looked great, Orion Nebula looked great. I could pick out Saturn and Jupiter between the trees, at just
Mm-hmm.
perfect times, and so I really love that telescope and still have it. And by the way, I've had it for over 20 years, and I have collimated it, Scott, exactly
Hmm.
0 times.
0 times.
0 times. And I have also cleaned the mirror exactly
0
0
times.
times.
Wow. And you've had it all this time.
And I've had all this time, and it works fine.
Yeah.
I'll take it to star parties and set it on the ground. I have a piece of carpet, set on the ground, set it over there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
kids will come up and say, "Can we use this?" I'm like, "Sure." And the parents will be, "No, don't break it." I'm like, "They can't break it.
Right.
Let the kids go." And, well, how do I use it? I literally will say to them, "Figure it out." You point it at something and look through it and turn that knob to focus. And by the end of the evening, you'll have a crowd of kids all over around that little telescope
That's true.
eating it up. And
That's
because they're getting to use a telescope without adult supervision.
Mm-hmm.
And 10, 12, 14-year-olds, sometimes 7 or 8-year-olds, they eat that up. And that is a wonderful feeling. It's over here with the adults at a big telescope and watch those kids over there just get immersed
Sure.
and find their own way with something. I really love
Right.
doing that. I love
Right.
that.
I was talking to, we're about to do a Asian star party, global star party. And one of the guys was talking to me about the program they have in Thailand. Now,
Mhm.
in Thailand, they have a remarkable program. They have a government program called the National Astronomical Research Institute of Thailand, NART. And NART every year spends millions of dollars encouraging their citizens to explore the skies and experience amateur astronomy.
And you were telling me they have full-time staff who goes out and does.
Oh yeah, they have a
star
whole
parties and take it
team.
to the-
They have a
yeah.
big team that does this. Okay,
Yeah.
they have a sky park. They have all these really wonderful things, things that we kind of have in bits and pieces in the United States, but nothing really organized. Clubs do it. Some clubs do it better than other clubs.
National parks are getting into it now.
National
We have-
parks are getting into it. So certainly this pandemic has forced families to want to get in their backyards and observe the night sky. And so if you are in the telescope business or in any outdoor business during this time, you were very, very busy because people wanted to go. They wanted to go camping again. They wanted to do things that they could do. Okay, and stargazing is one of them. Certainly, You can start off with a pair of binoculars. If you're keen-eyed, you would recognize the rings on Saturn at 10 magnification, okay? But to really start to see the rings on Saturn, I don't know, I think you have to get upwards over 15 power to go, aha, those are...
Oh, that's more than bumps.
There's more than bumps. It's more than something that...
didn't Galileo think it had ears?
Ears. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right.
Well, his optics weren't very good. Right. And so, his this is the Galileo scope here, the telescope kit. Okay. This is far better than what Galileo used and owned. But it was intended to show people how to, put together a telescope, how optics worked.
What the guts inside of the telescope are.
Exactly. And this actually was developed by scientists and optical designers and stuff for the International Year of Astronomy. And there have been many thousands of
tens of thousands
of kids and adults who have been inspired to do more astronomy by building that telescope, okay? And this telescope doesn't even have a mount, okay?
Right.
It's got a 1/4-20 bolt here. You could put it on a cane or something like that, or you could build something. Yeah, but a lot of people would just put it up on a fence post or something and look through it, right? And that's what Galileo was doing. He was doing the same deal. That's what I was doing when I was 10 years old.
And I have grande respect for Galileo because I've used the Galilean eyepiece in that thing.
Oh.
And that's like, if you think a soda straw has a small field of view, a soda straw has a big field of view compared to the Galilean eyepiece in that telescope.
Yep.
It's like looking through a piece of pencil lead.
Right.
It's a challenge.
All right. There's more things that we want to talk about this, but let's look at some of the conversation that's going on in chat here.
And this is a cool thing that there's a whole, I love to watch the chat functions because there's a whole conversations going on in the comments. It's spectacular to see these comments.
Right. Okay. So we have people logging in here. Richard Grace gets on first here. We have Bergman Scooter, Book Davies, Chuck Stas on, Dale Beasley.
Hi, Dale.
Yeah. Dave Ing. A lot of you guys are going to be, or some of you guys are going to be on the Global Star Party tonight. We need to talk about that too. Wolfgang's on. We have, he says, yesterday I missed the show because we had a Sunday change to winter time. Okay.
That's in Germany.
And I was 1 hour late to watch.
Okay, for the people in the United States, Ulla Drake, Wolfgang faced that in Germany on Sunday. Saturday night this week, we fall back. So,
this Saturday?
Yes, this coming Saturday. A few days away.
Okay.
Daylight savings time changes in the United States, and so be prepared for that because
and Mike Wiesner and warm, sunny Arizona got some snow. So
he said it's been 90s and 100 since May,
right?
And he got snow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And let's see. I was lucky in that my employer has a rewards program, and I collected almost enough points to get an 8-inch SCT. I only had to kick in the last $100 or so, and I still use that scope. So that might have been your first scope, Dave. I'm not sure, but that's great. Yeah.
James the astrophotographer. I'm really good at floating. Can't drive.
Can't dive.
Tried, just too buoyant. Hey, there's enough lead weights. We can make anything sink.
That's right. Yeah, I think there's, we won't go there, putting the concrete boots on.
That's a whole...
Right, yeah, that's a different thing.
Okay,
yeah. Stefan says, I started with a used Celestron 60 to see if I liked it or not after being a few years looking to get into the hobby. Only spent $50 Australian. 10 years later, a dozen scopes later, best decision I made. Okay, so here's somebody that started off with a 60 millimeter refractor. All right. Now, hopefully, so you got 2.4 inches of aperture, okay? 2.4 inches of aperture, what could you see? What do you think?
You can see the moon's going to be spectacular.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be craters. You know, you're not going to be able to zoom in and look at craters and
You'll
jack the
see
power up,
craters. You'll see
but
craters.
you'll see craters. You'll be able to see relay, shuttle lines of cliffs, the Maria, you know, the rays of Tycho.
Lots
I
of
mean,
features
you'll be
on
able
the
to see
moon.
lots of features on the moon. Around the terminator, you're going to be able to see 3 dimensions. Realize that
Mm-hmm.
what the shadows create that 3-dimensional effect.
Mm-hmm.
Jupiter, you're going to see the bands of Jupiter
Mm-hmm.
barely.
Let me move our camera just a little bit. Here we
okay.
go.
Under perfect seeing conditions, I doubt if you would detect the Great Red Spot. Maybe Galileo saw it, didn't he? So
I don't know.
you know,
I don't know, but he definitely saw the moons,
yeah,
and that was a startling, point. That he was able to see these moons change position over just a few hours.
And
so,
even in a small telescope, it's fascinating to watch that moon creep up and go behind, touch it, and then disappear.
right.
Or you see a little bump start coming out and see it, and it teardrops and then pops out and it becomes its own circle of light again. I love seeing that, and I tell people at star parties, watch it. You can see it move.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see really anything else out in space move, but you can watch the moons of Jupiter actually move right before your eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Everything else is static.
Right.
Over
as
short
if it
periods of
gets
time.
towards the limb, for sure.
You can, over a period of time, you can see the shadow move on the moon. You can see mountain, a little white dot, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger as the sun lights up more and more of the mountain.
Yeah.
But that and the moons of Jupiter are the things that I see that move
right
in the sky at night.
Right.
And I'm always fascinated by it. When it gets right up to the planet, and you can literally sit there and watch it move.
Okay.
Fascinating.
So you remember Comet Shoemaker-Levy 9?
Mm-hmm.
It's impacting Jupiter and stuff. I took 2 telescopes out with me. One was really a Tasco, because Mead Instruments bought some Tascos just to really look at them and to compare our opening price point of telescopes with them. So that's when we moved to 1.25-inch eyepieces on little telescopes and better finders and a little bit better mount and all this stuff to make it really a more usable type of product. And I'm happy to say that most of the industry moved on into that area. Okay.
Huge progress going from those 986s
absolutely.
or 6.8s or whatever.
Absolutely. And still being able to hold the pricing down to where they have. And then I had, sitting right next to it was a 16-inch LX200.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And through a 50-millimeter toy Tasco refractor, what people called at the time a Christmas trash telescope. Mm-hmm. I could see the impacts on Jupiter, okay, with that telescope, okay, and so that taught me something that you can still see a lot with a small telescope. So, and in those early days, I'd always try to take the fanciest, best Mead equipment that we had out to the star parties, okay? Because I wanted people to see the new, latest gadget, the different ways of setting it up and everything. But then I started taking little telescopes out so that people could see what a small telescope could actually see. Right. And the most recent time for me to do that, I used an Explore Scientific 70-millimeter refractor, took it to the Texas Star Party. Now, Texas Star Party, of course, is very dark skies, right? And it was a moonless night, and it was a wonderful night. But I was able to see the Whirlpool Galaxy with a 70-millimeter refractor with the standard eyepieces that came with it, and be able to tell that this was a spiral galaxy. It was a spiral galaxy, and it's, 30 million light years away or whatever it is, So, and there was, so then I was able to go to globular star clusters and some other bright galaxies and stuff. And so you can see a lot with them, provided that you're not trying to overpower these telescopes.
Well, and as you said, you did it under the pristine dark skies.
Yes, I did.
And the reality is, in the 50 years since you and I and everybody our age, of course, there's been a drastic change in light pollution.
Yes.
I took a picture, I've told this story before, probably 2 miles east of here, in the heart of downtown Springdale, Arkansas. When I was 13 or 14 years old, it was Christmas, around Christmas, and I went out and I had Tri-X film and locked my dad's,
Which is ISO 400 film.
ISO 400 film. Locked my dad's Minolta 102 with a shutter release, and locked it down, let it go all night, got up an hour before sunrise and stopped it, and went in and developed it and took a star trail picture, left it going for 10 hours. And I need to dig that picture up. It's somewhere. I need to find that. Just
find it.
I need to find it and show it. But
we'll scan it or something.
Now you can't do it because the little tree that was about 10 feet tall is now about 100 feet tall, and you can't see the North Pole. But I didn't get reciprocity failure.
Oh, wow.
And left it up all night. That's how dark it was. And we're talking about, in the heart of downtown Springdale. And now you can't, that'd be impossible to do. It's right. Gone. That ability is gone. That would have been in 1976 probably.
Right. But the point is that if you are in town and you have a smaller telescope, you can always get a little bit further out of town. Right?
I use light pollution map.info. Light pollution map.info.
But
there's other ones out there.
Type that in there and into the chat so people know where to go.
You go ahead.
Light pollution map.
Light pollution map.
Map.info.
And I use that. There's other light pollution maps out there.
Right.
That, you search for light pollution map and you'll see a bunch. But the point of it is you can look on a map and find where you live and go, my gosh, I live in that white. Well, if I go out here to this yellow, an hour drive away, maybe there's a state park or a small city, or you just go out on a country road and find a turnout and a farm
There's tons
road.
Of parks.
Tons of parks out
state
there.
Parks, city parks, or country parks, even. So.
And just get out under better light. And, okay, it won't be, Fort Davis, Nebraska Star Party dark.
No.
But if you cut your light pollution in half, you're going to see twice as much.
You're going to see twice as much. That's right.
And so
that's a great tip. If you have a smaller telescope and you want to see beyond the bright stuff, Alberio or bright stars, the planets, the moon, you need to go out where it is dark, and that still kind of holds true for Dobsonian owners too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can be in the middle of the city and not see much. You'll see more than you will with a 60 millimeter refractor.
But if what you're looking at is less bright than the average brightness of the sky, it's invisible. You can't see it.
True.
It's not there.
True.
And
which is why you should do what you were telling me to do. Is you should get involved with your local chapter of your International Dark Sky Association, and you should do all you can to encourage people to use full cutoff lighting. And
I tell people, I give a talk out at Hobbs State Park, when Sugar Creek Astronomical Society has an every other month star party, God willing, and the creek don't rise next year, but I'm not holding my breath, because if I do, I'll just turn blue and pass out, because it's probably not going to happen. But they have, I'll give a light pollution talk, and I talk about the global impact, on fireflies and birds, getting lost because they navigate it at night, and circadian rhythm of humans, all this.
Oh yeah, humans. I mean, the anxiety level of people goes up because you're not in a truly dark room.
Right.
Okay.
And I tell people, think globally.
Yeah.
And I didn't coin this. You've all heard this before. Think globally, but act locally. Go out and look at the porch lights on your house tonight. And if they're shining light out and up, then maybe you need to go to your local hardware store and find an IDA approved full cutoff shield porch light. So and
at least take care of your own backyard,
and
right?
Take care of your own porch.
Yep.
And talk to your neighbors about it. And if you know a city council person, do your research, on the IDA, which is darksky.org, I believe, or dark-sky.org. do some research, get yourself up to speed on some things, and talk to people, and just plant seeds. You never know when the one person you're going to talk to turns out to be in a position to change something.
That's true.
And that one conversation out of 500.
Especially a young person, because you never know
Yeah.
what this 10-year-old is going to be.
Well,
They might be the next president of the United States. You have no idea.
I've told the story about the 12-year-old kid that was at Star Party.
Yeah.
And ran into him a couple of years ago. He'd probably been 15 at the time, and went flying by, and his mom came up and said, "Do you give talks about light pollution?" I said, "Yeah." She says, "My son, was at one," and I said, "Oh, I remember him. We talked." She says, "Yeah, he's a light pollution Nazi now. He makes me stop and go into places at night."
Light pollution Nazi.
The light pollution Nazi, and she said he makes her stop and go into places and talk about your parking lot lights are shining out on the road and makes it hard to drive.
Yeah.
And that has an impact,
Right.
And
even Walmart. We're in the land of Walmart here, and this super center, which is really close to Explore Scientific,
less than a mile north,
right, won an award, from the IDA, I believe, about being very responsible as far as the lighting goes in that parking lot. And if you go and stand in that parking lot and look up, you can see stars.
You can see stars.
You can see stars.
And if you drive past it, and I tell people, fog hides all the dirty secrets of streetlights. Because when you drive around when it's foggy, it shows where the light goes. And if you see this round light coming up from
the dirty secrets of light pollution, right?
And it shows up.
Yeah,
it shows
how much
dirt. Light is going up.
That's true.
You go by the super center the super center, full cutoff shields, shining light on the ground. It's not even close to horizontal, and they're doing their part. Walmart is doing their part.
They are doing their part, which is amazing. That you'd think that some of the biggest retailers in the world would ignore this kind of stuff, but they're sensitive to it.
Another company,
and the reason why is because they want to be good custodians of their community.
That's correct.
Right?
And they're trying to cut carbon emissions. They've realized that if we can shine that light down on the ground, we can use less electricity, because half the electricity goes up in the sky from the old fixtures.
Yeah.
We're using twice as much electricity.
It's
Another
true.
company I want to give a shout out to, Scott, around here, is Casey's General Store.
Casey's General Store.
Everybody thinks about convenience stores as being, terrible. But you go by every new Casey's General Store, all their light fixtures are recessed up in the island, the hood above the islands.
Okay.
All their fixtures are down. I mean, Casey's deserves a shout out.
Yeah,
for their
Mike
efforts.
Wiesner, if you're listening, I know you are. Casey's General Store.
Yeah, because he has one that's a convenience store next to him, isn't it? That he has.
I don't know. They're in Arizona.
Somebody has a problem with the convenience store. I remember somebody talking about it.
I see.
Posted some pictures.
Okay.
So anyway,
but we've kind of gone off the reservation about a couple of things, and
light pollution's important.
Light pollution is important. It is.
It deserves to be talked about.
That's right.
More.
That's right. So, and one day, and I believe this is true, and you brought this up, and that like noise pollution, because you told me, well, Scott, what if my neighbors play loud rock and roll music all night and I can't sleep?
Right.
Well, you can call the police, right? You can call the police, and they will make them turn off that music, right?
Or take them to jail. There are people that go to jail because they refuse to turn the music off, and the cops give them the bracelets, and
away they go. Okay.
Right.
Away they go. Or you sue them, right?
Or you sue them.
You sue them. It's like the person lets the water run all night or whatever. It runs into your yard and fills up your swimming pool.
And my insurance fills up my basement. The insurance company goes after them.
Right? Okay.
But go on down the road.
All right. So what's the difference between that and somebody blasting light in your backyard?
Exactly.
What is the difference? It's still pollution.
And it's still annoyance.
It's not only annoyance, it's bad for your health.
But if you call the police and they come out, they're going to tell you to buy curtains. They're
Yeah.
not gonna go to the neighbors
So-
and knock on the door and say, "Would you please turn off the light in your backyard?" They're gonna say,
Yep.
"Well, aren't you afraid of criminals? Don't you want to keep the criminals away?" No, the criminals aren't gonna show up. Criminals have to have light too.
That's true. They need
know,
to see who they're going to criminal
And
against,
Scott,
right?
and Scott, I'm gonna look at the camera. If light is a disinfectant,
Yeah.
if light is a disinfectant for crime,
There would be no crime,
then
right?
why is there crime in the daytime?
Oh, yeah.
If
Why?
light stopped crime, why are there burglaries in the daytime? More houses get broken into during the day
Yeah.
than get broken into at night.
Right.
So
They have to see what they're stealing, right?
it's a weird, but it's counterintuitive.
It's not a weird, though.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
But anyway,
right.
all right. So moving on. So the whole point.
So the whole point was get to
Scott-
dark skies, support the IDA. Okay,
And
those are two important things.
But Scott challenged me
Seen from Amazon or whoever.
and have no support. Pick up the phone and do customer service. Scott picks up the
Sometimes,
phone.
yeah.
And
Or to
people-
watch this show.
Yeah.
Okay, to watch this show and see two guys in mass talking about the importance of light pollution and how to get started the right way. Okay,
So
so
Scott challenged me
$200.
$200.
$200 or less.
Okay.
What can you possibly
So
get them
you wanna
into?
Call up. We got one of those screens. You want to share
Okay.
this?
All right. So let's see.
Let's see. Kent's
Now,
package number one.
I don't know if I can share.
No, we're not in
this.
Zoom.
We're
Can
not,
we?
are we?
Uh-oh, we're not doing Zoom.
Hold on. So let me see.
So I'm challenging Scott to figure out something new.
Let's see.
So if you ever through Springdale,
Well, I can just I'll throw up the links. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll throw up the
If-
links.
If you're ever in Springdale, Arkansas, we have a store. Come by and see us. We love people to come
Right.
by.
So you picked out a couple of 70 millimeter refractors.
So I picked out the Explorer FirstLight 70 millimeter alt-az refractor. It comes in at $109.99. Comes with two Kellner eyepieces, not the greatest eyepieces in the world, but
not the worst eyepieces
by
in the
far
world.
not the worst eyepieces in the world. A red dot finder, a smartphone camera adapter, fully coated glass. It's not plastic. It's not just glass. It's fully coated glass.
Ken says we should just give a super discount on the ED80 under $200.
Well, we could do that,
Yes.
but we're probably not going to. Actually, I have a couple in the back we can sell you for probably $200.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Well, that's buying used, and
One
that's
of them-
and
one
we'll
of
we'll
them-
do a show about buying used stuff and how to do it.
One of
okay?
them got run over by a truck. I would sell that one for $200. If you want to
Yeah.
buy it, $200.
Yeah.
It looks like it got hit by a truck.
I wouldn't let you sell it.
Because it did. No, because then we'd have to warranty it.
That's
So-
right.
all right.
That's right.
So for the grand price of $144.97, you get the telescope that we provided the link for.
Now that's as of this year,
That's correct.
October,
That's
right? So,
October of 2020.
2020.
Who
So if
knows
you're
what
watching
the
this in the
price
year
is.
2030,
Don't come trying to get me to
That's
10
right.
years from now to get you to sell you one because
Right.
I'm not going to. I'll sell you one, but I'm not going to do it for $109.
right?
Unless it got run over by a truck, and then I'll probably sell it to you for $109. And you get the Wiltirian two-sided planisphere and the Explorer Scientific red light comes in for $145.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. So this is
That's
10 millimeters more than the gentleman who said he got started with a 60. It's 30 more millimeters than what I started out with a 40. Okay.
And it's not a toy telescope.
It's not a toy telescope. That's right.
Not a toy telescope.
That's right. Inch and a quarter eyepieces, metal tripod.
It's
metal,
got It's got a yoke mount, which takes a little bit to master.
Yep.
But solid little telescope. The other one, Kent's package number 2.
Kent's package number 2.
And
Now
I
this is
splurged.
this is in
splurged.
fact the telescope, the 70 millimeter that I used at the Texas Star Party.
I'm splurging on this one because it's the Explorer 1 Gemini 2 flat black 70 millimeter azimuth mount telescope with 2 Plössl eyepieces, 26 millimeter and 9.7, a red dot finder, and I don't think it comes with a phone adapter. It's a solid telescope, and I splurged. Scott said under $200.
Under 200.
I pushed the envelope a lot. This one comes in with the
You probably
planisphere.
still have money left over to buy a pair of binoculars with it, right?
With the planisphere and the red light, We come in at $154.
154. You still got
Okay.
money left over to probably get a pair of 7 by 50
Yeah,
binoculars.
or 10 by 50. We've got some National Geographic binoculars. I think we're out of stock right now for $39. 10
There
by
you go.
50 National Geographic
Yep.
branded Explore Scientific built binoculars. Paul and Kathy Anderson. Shout out to Paul and Kathy if you're watching.
Right.
Founders of Sugar Creek Astronomical Society.
Which you're president of, right?
Which I'm president of. And Kathy, thank you, Kathy, for my wonderful astronomy themed
Right.
mask. They've got 3 or 4 pairs they use for bird watching and astronomy and taking star parties and stuff.
Very cool.
And $39
Right.
binoculars,
And they do a remarkable job.
and they are, I'm here probably because of Paul and Kathy.
Okay.
Paul walked into my office one day at the newspaper and wanted to put something in the newspaper and met Paul, and he's been a father figure, for this since.
No, that's very cool. That's very cool.
Well,
Well, a lot of
shout out
us
to
like
those
Paul
two.
and Kathy. They're awesome.
Yeah.
The thing is that, okay, you've got these tools. I do recommend, I think in that package, I would definitely recommend that they get some 7 by 50 or 10 by 50 binoculars. Smaller aperture binoculars makes it a little tough to see the deep sky objects, but any binoculars are better than nothing.
Sure.
And I think that every astronomer should have a pair of binoculars of some sort.
But 6 by 21s, they're better than nothing.
They're better than nothing.
But they're, for just a little bit more money,
Right.
you can get so much more.
For 10 or 20 bucks
Yeah.
more. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And it didn't used to be that binoculars were that inexpensive. I remember in the 1980s, those 8 by 21s that you're talking about, they were $70, $100. Okay. They were very expensive.
Yeah.
And the price was, they sold like crazy because it was new at that time to have such a small, compact pair of binoculars. Now, people are using them for concerts or whatever to stick in their bag or their purse or their pocket or whatever, but you get a little bit more aperture, and now you've got something that you can see the Andromeda Galaxy with, you can find comets with, you can see nebula with, you can see structure in the Milky Way with, and then you see something that teases you a little bit that you want to see with a little bit more magnification, then that's when you jump to a telescope.
Shout out to the double cluster in binoculars.
Oh, yeah.
Double cluster in
In
binoculars.
Perseus, yes.
It's
beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. That's
Okay,
true.
So Dale Beasley points out,
Okay.
and shout out to Dale. Hey, Dale.
Hi, Dale.
A much better mount than either of those starter scopes. Dale, you're right. And the reality is you should spend half of your money or more on a mount, I think is probably a rule. People have talked about rules. A good idea, but you can't let that get in the way of starting. And it's a balance.
If you told somebody they can't do astronomy because they might get frustrated with a flimsy tripod like mine. I mean, this is the worst of tripods. You can hear it wiggling back and forth. Okay? This is just the way it was.
Yeah.
All right? I would say that, again, if I didn't have that telescope, I wouldn't be here either.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here either.
You might have still gone to OPT because you're into photography and
Oh,
was
definitely.
pen pals with Ansel Adams.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't called OPT at the time. It was
Right.
called OPC.
Yeah.
It was Oceanside Photographic Center.
and you never would have had the wherewithal to put the T on the end of it and make it telescope.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We got
So-
reintroduced to telescopes, and I would say that the biggest reason why, beyond the gear, was the community that wanted to help. Right?
Yeah.
It's like all these people right here that are chatting. It's these guys that want to help. They would share their telescopes. They'd share all their knowledge to get somebody started. Heck, some of them they have lots of telescopes and they give away their telescopes they're not using,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That happens too. So
Dale just replied. He was talking about our mounts are better than the Tasco and
well,
the other mounts.
and that
are
may be
out there.
true. That may be true. But even if you could only afford one of those old Tascos, I mean, there are tons of these telescopes that are sitting in garages and attics all over the world.
Heath Creekmore.
Okay.
One of the CSRs here. I don't know if you've had him on the shows.
Yeah, sure.
Heath walked in here a year and a half ago, and he had been at Goodwill, and he found I think it was a Tasco telescope,
Okay.
a little bitty one.
Okay.
And he thought it was cool and bought it. And he walked in here and said, "What is this thing?" And he had no background in astronomy.
Right.
He saw this telescope and bought it for, I think it was like $5 or $10.
Okay.
And it was still, the box was still there. It was in pretty good shape. And we talked about how to take it apart, how to clean it, what it did. And he did it. And he came back and he showed it to me. And he was like, and this thing's beautiful from what it was. You know?
Yeah.
And so then he's like, well, what do I see with it? Okay, we started down that road. What do you see with it?
Sure.
And now, from buying a Goodwill find, cheap telescope that was dirty beyond belief, that he cleaned up, found a couple of things with it. Now he's working here doing astronomy.
Yeah, he's working in customer service, advising people on how to pick their next telescope and showing them how to fix their PM-C8s and all this other stuff. So that's how quickly you can get into this.
All because of a Goodwill find.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So anyways, we're going to have, this show is going to be on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Right. Okay, so Kent will be with me on Tuesdays and Thursdays. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we'll have Jerry Hubble on with me, and we'll be talking about the PM-C8 and the more advanced gear that we have and the more advanced things that you guys do. It's, I feel, a responsibility that we have to get the word out and try to help people that are just beginning, to how to get started, to try to get them to watch shows like this so they can get in and not feel intimidated. You show up. These star parties I used to run, Kent, I would bring out $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 worth of gear. All right. And then beginners would show up and say, yeah, you need to come out and experience the beautiful dark skies of the Anza Borrego State Park. And they'd show up and they would look at my gear and the mom is saying, kids, do not touch anything here.
Right.
Do not touch anything, and they're all like walking around a little bit of, not a little bit intimidated, really intimidated. Okay. And they would experience, ooh, that was beautiful. That's all wonderful. And then they're gone. Boom. Okay.
Because they, A, can't afford it, B, they're scared of it, and C, they can't afford it.
And D, or 2 or whatever. They're not going to show up with a 60 millimeter refractor to set up next to my $2,000 instrument. Okay. This is just not going to happen.
And we all suffer from that.
Yes.
We all suffer from, I want to show off my nice pickup truck or my beautiful camper.
Yeah.
Or my high-end telescope. Or we don't want to, take our, $200 4.5 inch 25-year-old Dobsonian telescope out,
right?
Because it's not my showpiece. It's not the silverware.
Oh yeah.
Company's coming over. We're going to eat off the good china and get out the good silverware. I've got to polish that silverware for 5 days.
That's right.
And so we don't. That drives people away from astronomy.
Yep.
And shout out for Dale. I've said Dale's name 2 or 3 times. Dale and I became acquainted after he had an Exos 2 GT and was struggling with it. He's upgraded to a PM-C8.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very proud of Dale. Dale, you keep doing what you're doing. He got his first astrophotography picture over the weekend.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
We're Facebook friends.
That's great.
He struggled mightily, but he's probably thought about taking his claw hammer to his head, not to mount in the telescope, but to his head.
I've seen people actually really do that and take a hammer to their telescope.
Oh, I thought you meant their head. I said,
no.
But,
I have stories.
Dale, Dale, you're an inspiration to people out there. I don't know if you feel that way or not, but you post on the Facebook forums.
Yeah.
And you keep hammering away, and you're not going to give up. And I'm proud of you for that. And that's the attitude we all need to foster with people.
Yeah.
Is to not give up. We need to take our skills and try and foster and foster parents to these children in astronomy. We're the parental figures. We need to adopt them as foster children and help them into their adulthood of astronomy.
So to speak. Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it's after 5 o'clock. We've got a global star party that's going to start. I'm going to have people logging in about an hour and a half. Okay. We'll be back with more shows like this. So thanks for tuning in and spending time with Kent and Scott. And keep looking up. And we'll see you. If you can, please watch the global star party. It should be a lot of fun. We've got, again, astronomers from around the world participating. I'm also happy to announce, and maybe I talked about it before, but we do have the first Asian edition of the Global Star Party, which will happen in our morning. Okay, so I'm going to get up at about 3:30 to prepare for it. Okay.
No, it starts at 3.
No. We go on the air at 6 a.m.
Oh, it's 6 a.m.
It's
here.
6 a.m.
Okay,
here
okay.
Central. Okay, because then it'll be dark over there in the Philippines and Thailand and all the rest of it. And wow, the lineup of people that we got coming on for the Asian edition of the Global Star Party, that will be November 7th, okay, starting at 6 a.m. Central here in the States, okay, will really be something to see. You know, one of the highlights is the National Astronomical Research Institute of Thailand. The official, I talked about it earlier in the show. The government of Thailand, they spend millions of dollars every year supporting amateur astronomy.
And they approached us.
Well, Christopher Go knows these people, and they wanted to jump in, and when they wanted to be part of this. So we've got the government of Thailand, okay? Not just a couple of amateur astronomers, but this whole group.
So where can you watch this? I saw somebody's question pop up.
Huh?
How do we watch the Star Party?
You watch it
Just like this.
right here, what you're watching right now, whether you're on Facebook, because we simulcast. So we're on Facebook on the Explore Scientific USA page. We're on the YouTube on the Explore Scientific official page, okay? We have a Twitch page, okay, which is Explore Scientific, and Twitter, Explore Scientific CS, I think is what it is.
Periscope?
Periscope is part of Twitter.
Twitch. Okay,
is Twitter.
Okay, yeah.
Twitter. So, but where you can get to all of those social media sites and chat like you are right now is you go to explorescientific.com/live, and you'll see the live shows there, and with links to go to each one of the social media if you want to. Okay, so, So are
the times changing? You're going earlier than we have been, right?
And I have been for a couple of star
right,
parties
okay,
already. I've
right.
been starting at officially at 7. Okay, so but I have people logging in at about 6:30. So so anyhow, we really do thank you. There are door prizes to win. So. So you're going to want to participate in that. The Astronomical League is our official door prize sponsor, okay, and they'll be asking questions.
Oh, and you're giving away a new prize tonight too. From our friend Jerry is.
The Marts Slade Remote Observer.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's not new. He's offered that before.
But we're actually giving one away tonight, I think.
Yeah, right. So you can have a whole session with the Marts Slade Remote Observatory, which is totally cool. The Vacuum of Space is offering. You can pick out any of their gifts, and they'll customize it for you.
$50 value.
Yep, $50 value. You can, and Explore Scientific will have some stuff as well. So we really thank you for watching, and until tomorrow, because we're on every day, we'll see you. Okay. Okay. Here we go.